Paul Ryan has released his budget, and it is the budget that a lot of Republicans are getting behind now. He's the Republican congressman from Wisconsin who's supposed to be the budget whiz. Laugh along with me as I show you the numbers. First of all, does he do spending cuts? Absolutely. Now, President Obama had significant spending cuts in his budget, and I was not happy about a lot of those cuts. Paul Ryan cuts $5 trillion more. It's absurd. So Medicare gets cut by $205 billion. It's a huge cut, of course, to Medicare recipients, while Paul Ryan pretends that he hasn't cut it. But there it is. It's Congressional Budget Office numbers. You have cut it. Medicaid is cut by $770 billion, and that nearly eviscerates Medicaid. Basically, it's no longer the federal government. They kick it off to the states. They take out 35% of the funding from the program, and if the states want to collapse the program, well, that's up to them. So if you're needy and you needed some sort of insurance coverage so you didn't die in the streets, sad day for you. Paul Ryan is nearly destroying that program with this budget. Now, how about health care reform? He takes away $1.6 trillion from health care. It's disastrous. So what does that lead to? It leads to 48 million Americans, according to Think Progress's analysis of this, becoming uninsured. Why? Remember, President Obama's program was going to cover 30 to 33 million people extra while he repeals that health care reform. So there's the 30-some-odd million people out on the street without health care coverage, just like before. Then 15 million are lost because of the Medicaid cuts, 50 million people from the rolls, and then an average of about 1 million people lost because of the Medicare cuts. So, you know, let's say they way overestimated at Think Progress. Now, they're using Congressional Budget Office numbers to make that estimation. So what happens? Let's say, only 40 million people will go without insurance under Paul Ryan's plan. So who gets hurt? The poor definitely get hurt because Medicaid gets eviscerated. The middle class, whether it's Medicare, the health care reform they were going to get, the uninsured, et cetera, they all get hurt. Okay, so now who gets helped? I hope you're sitting down. Turns out it's the rich and corporations. Wow. Something so unique and bold for the Republicans. So let's talk tax cuts, and there are a lot of them. Income tax rates are broken down into two brackets, 10% and 25%, and the corporate tax rate is brought down to 25%. And now on top of that, he removes none of the loopholes. At least President Obama's proposal, he also brings down corporate tax rates, which drives me crazy, but he proposes that they take away some loopholes. Paul Ryan says we take away no loopholes. We lower taxes dramatically on corporations. Why? Because, of course, corporations fund Paul Ryan's campaign and the entire Republican Party. And then the rich go from paying 35% or more when the Bush tax cuts are set to expire next year to all of a sudden all the way down to 25%. So the top 1% love this plan. And one other thing that is a great gift to the corporations, if they made money abroad, at some point they have to bring it back into the U.S. and get charged U.S. taxes on it normally. Well, under Paul Ryan's plan, they wouldn't have to bring the money back at all, in which case corporations can hide all their money in Aruba or the Cayman Islands or Switzerland, and then their corporate tax rate, instead of being 25%, becomes, in essence, 0%. Gee, I wonder who the Republicans are trying to help out. You're uninsured, you're poor, you're middle class, screw you. If you're a rich corporation or you're a rich individual, we love you. Here's our entire gift to you. We robbed it from the middle class and the poor to give it to you. And it only gets worse. So how much would our deficit get worse, get added upon because of the tax cuts of Paul Ryan? $3 trillion. There's $3 trillion of tax breaks. But wait a minute. Let's, for a second, remember what the point of this proposal was supposed to be. This is in order to balance the budget. But the proposal doesn't balance the budget. It was supposed to reduce the deficit, but it doesn't reduce the deficit. All it does is give $3 trillion in tax breaks, most of which goes to the very, very rich. Weird. It's as if their actual goal is to protect the rich and not to balance the budget. Of course! Now, to make it even more painfully obvious, here's another fun little thing they did on taxes. Paul Ryan's proposal keeps $40 billion in oil subsidies for the richest corporations in America. the oil corporations. Now, think about that. If you cared about balancing the budget, why in the world would you give away $40 billion of taxpayer money to the richest corporations in the world? Now, the point of a subsidy is the government sometimes thinks, hey, you know what? It's a nascent industry. It's an industry that needs help a little bit, and it'll be fine on its own afterwards. But why do you need to give help to the oil industry when they literally broke a record? The top 5 oil companies in 2011 made $137 billion in profits, not revenue, in profits. They're literally the most profitable industry in the world. So why would the government need to give them an incentive to drill for more oil? Their incentive is $137 billion in profits. So it's just a $40 billion giveaway from our pocket to the pockets of big oil. It's because Paul Ryan and the Republicans don't give a damn about balancing the budget. All they care about is giving the money back to their rich donors. The fact that the rest of the media doesn't report it that way is atrocious, because that's not an opinion. It's in the facts of the bill. He gives a $40 billion gift to the oil companies, pretends to be conservative. So, oh, no, I like free market. No, you don't. You hate the free market. You love crony capitalism. You love giving it to your donors. By the way, there is some forms of energy he does not like. He would cut alternative energy funding by 80%. So, hey, you know what? If you actually have a nascent industry that could use some government help so that it can get bigger, as oil did actually about 100 years ago. When we originally started the oil subsidies, oil needed the help. They obviously don't need the help anymore, but they've taken over and they've become, they've bought Washington. So alternative energy gets killed. Big oil continues to get massive subsidies because they bought the entire Republican Party, certainly including their servant, Paul Ryan. Now, you want to get a load of great irony? Okay, 2 forms of irony here. Number one, again, they were supposed to balance the budget. They don't do it. When you look at Paul Ryan's numbers, what would happen to the national debt in 2022 and compared to Obama's budget? Paul Ryan's budget would add 90% to the national debt. So our national debt goes up by 90% in 2022 under Paul Ryan's plan. Under President Obama's plan, which I don't love either, but at least what does it do? Because of all the really painful spending cuts and some small tax increases, it actually reduces the national debt by 76%. Now, how can you look at that and say, oh, no, the Republicans are the ones that care about national debt. They're the ones that care about the budget and deficit. It's a lie. It's a flat-out lie. They don't care about it at all. All they care about is protecting their rich friends. It's in the numbers. It's indisputable. But it gets better. Here comes the second irony. Turns out that Paul Ryan, when he was growing up, took Social Security money and got a college education with it. You're thinking, how is that possible? Well, Social Security is not just for the old. It's tragedy happened in the Ryan family, and of course our heart goes out to what happened to him in that situation. His father died when he was 16. But because of that, they were able to collect Social Security. And as a magazine in Wisconsin that talked to him confirms, quote, with his father's passing, young Paul collected Social Security benefits until age 18, which he put away for college. So understand what's happening here. Paul Ryan, who benefited from what he calls entitlement programs, who put himself through college, got an opportunity and succeeded because of that government assistance. Now it turns around and wants to make sure no one else gets that kind of help.